Greetings to my dear subscribers and other viewers. Grand Theft Auto is perhaps the most famous series of open-world games. The genre of the game is action, and the developer of such at the moment is Rockstar. Initially, DAW was intended directly for desktop devices, computers and game consoles. However, I suspect that the existence of parts on mobile and portable devices is not a secret for many. The conversation in this video will not be about emulation and launching desktop DAW on mobile, although this option is certainly also present. I will try to mention all the mobile portable parts of Grand Theft Auto, released directly by the official developer. Let's go. The first game in the Suddenly series is CapBoyan. By the way, this was released back in 1997 and not only for PC and PS1, but also for the portable Game Boy Color console. In truth, this happened a little later, in 1999. The GBC version of course still differed from the older ones, and the ROM size was only 4 MB. However, it still had an open world, a top-down view, 2D graphics and many other delights of a full-fledged PC version. Unfortunately, the London 1961 and London 1969 add-ons were missing for the portable version, but in my opinion, the loss is not great. There are several cities in this part. These are the same ones familiar from the newer parts of Liberty City, Vice City and San Andreas. The map in the game shows that these are located on the territory of the United States of America. Later it will become clear that these are analogs of New York, Miami and San Francisco, respectively. And yes, you should not confuse the city of San Andreas from the first DAW and the name of the state from the part of the same name. After all, these are slightly different things. There are several main characters here and the user will have to independently choose the character he likes. Among these there are even girls, which is absent in more advanced parts of Grand Theft Auto. This version belongs to the 2D DAW universe and is not at all demanding on hardware. On the emulator, you can even run it on Java phones. Of course, it also works on smartphones. A more detailed video about this and the second DAW on Game Boy Color has already been posted on this channel. The link to this is available in the description of the video. The second part of DAW, just like the first, has a portable version on the Game Boy Color console. It was released in 2000. By the way, DAW has slightly more available platforms than the previous one. They also added a version for Sega Dreamcast. As for the portable variation of DAW, there are few differences with its predecessor. They slightly changed the HUD and car controls and moved the action to another city. Now it is the so-called Anywhere City, and the events there unfold in the future, namely in 2013. It is unusual that in the portable version there is not one character, as in the PC version, but several. In general, it is almost the same DAW on GBC, and with the PC2 it is quite cut down. In 2001 for PlayStation 2, in 2002 for PC, and in 2011 for iOS and Android, the third part of DAW was released. For Android, this was the first official port from Rockstar. DAW 3 was then 10 years old. In general, it is worth noting that this is the first game in the Grand Theft Auto series in 3D. The view here is already from the third person, although the top-down mode is still here, but this is simply for the sake of appearances. Of course, if we adhere to strict chronology, then in general Advance and Liberty City stories came out on portable devices even earlier than the third part, so here I rather mention that the three were the third for desktop platforms. The main character in the project was not equipped with lines. Here he is completely silent. The game has a very dull atmosphere of rainy New York, i.e., an analog of such Liberty City. The actions in DAW took place right at the time of the title's release, i.e., in 2001, which is rare for the Grand Theft Auto series. That is why the radio played pretty cool modern music here. By the way, in 2020, the game was ported to the portable console from Sony PlayStation Vita. DAW, by the way, had quite a lot of modifications. Once I even had a disc with a lot of mods for this game. However, I like the DAW Frosted Winter mod the most, which had a winter season, and the main character there is Joey Leone. The game also had some Easter eggs, for example, Ghost Town, which was located behind the main map and was quite difficult to get into. DAW is made on the Renderware engine and belongs to the so-called 3D DAW universe. Troika is the founder of this, by the way. 2002. Then the game DAW Vice City was first released, and in 2012 it was ported to Android and iOS devices. The action there takes place in 1986, 15 years before DAW. The protagonist, compared to the Troika, can talk. He now has a mobile phone. In general, there are more cars. There are also new types of transport, motorcycles and helicopters, for example. There are new features in the game, including buying real estate and changing clothes. There are more buildings that you can enter, i.e., new interiors. We move around the analog of Miami. The atmosphere is already less gloomy than in DAW. In 2021, the game was unofficially ported to PS Vita. The name of the protagonist in the game is Tommy Vercetti. The antagonist here is Sonny Forelli from Liberty City, already known to us from DAW. According to the plot, Tommy must return Sonny's money because of a failed deal, but the main character must eventually fight the annoying enemy and kill him. The next game in the series is DAW Advance. It was released in 2004 for Game Boy Advance. The game is made in 2D and is very undemanding. It even ran on Symbian smartphones on an emulator. That is, a 3D accelerator, as such, was not needed for TA Advance. The action here takes place in 2000 in Liberty City, a year before the events in TA, so Advance can be called a prequel to the third part. The main character's name is Mike, and you can also find some characters familiar from other parts, such as 8-Ball and King Courtney, for example. Despite the top view, the game belongs to the 3D, not the 2D universe. Accordingly, there are also some features from the 3D parts, such as working for city services, for example. There was already a video about TA Advance on this channel, and you can find a link to it in the description. The next project, TA San Andreas. It was released in 2004 on PlayStation 2, a little later, on PC, and in 2013 the game was ported to Android and iOS. Then, by the way, they ported it to Windows Phone. Even later, unofficially, to PlayStation Vita. The version for Android and iOS, by the way, began to take up less memory than the PC version. They optimized it, so to speak. The events in the game take place in 1992 in the state of San Andreas and 3 cities: San Fierro, Los Santos and Las Venturas. The prototypes of these are San Francisco, Los Angeles and Las Vegas. The player has new characteristics, such as satiety and endurance, for example. Now you can buy clothes and change your hairstyle. You can also find machines with various mini-games in the game. Such games within the game. The main character here is black for the first time and is able to go on dates with girls. His name is Carl Johnson, or CJ for short. By the way, in this part of the game, according to the plot, there was a meeting with the protagonist from TA, and it was from here that we learned that his name is Claude. The next title, TA Liberty City Stories. It was released in 2005 on PSP, a little later on PS2. In 2015, the game was ported to iOS, and in 2016, to Android. Liberty City Stories has almost the same city as TA. However, additional features have been added. Motorcycles and helicopters have been added to the game. Clothes can be changed. Interiors have been inserted into apartments for saving. The main character's name is Tony Cipriani, and he is already known from TA. Once upon a time, it was necessary to complete missions for him. Here he is already quite thin. The action here takes place in 1998, 3 years before the events in TA. In addition, in the game you can meet other characters known from TA, for example, the Mafia Don Salvatore Leone and his girlfriend Maria. The next game in the series, TA Vice City Stories. Alas, this hit was never ported to Android and iOS. It is unknown what the matter is. However, in 2006, such a game was released on PSP and you can at least play it on an emulator. Later in 2007, the game came to PS2. You have to be in the role of Victor Vance. The action in the game begins on the territory of the Vice City Army. The city here is almost the same as in the 2002 game, TA Vice City. Victor is the brother of Lance Vance from the predecessor. Also at the beginning of the game, for example, you can meet Phil Cassidy, who is already familiar from TA and Vice City. The events take place in 1984, 2 years before the events in TA Vice City. The main character can swim, like in San Andreas. There are also 99 red balloons in the city that need to be popped. In this way, the game is similar to Six Guns from Gamaloft. There is also a kind of business takeover, but the author of this video did not reach this in TA Vice City Stories. Next title, TA Chinatown Wars. Released in 2009 and was part of the TA HD universe. The city of action was Liberty City. However, not the one that was in the Troika Stories and Advance. Here the area is similar to the one that can be found in TA 4. Initially, the game was released on Nintendo DS and PSP. By the way, they had different graphics. Later, in 2010, it was released on iOS and became the first native TA 4 phones. Even later, versions for Android and PS Vita were released. The year of development of events is 2009 and the action mainly takes place in the Chinatown area. We play as One Lee. From the unusual, the game brought many games for stealing cars, which used the touchscreen in the Nintendo DS, among other things. The latest mobile hit from Grand Theft Auto is TA Trilogy Definitive Edition. It was first released in 2021 for the Nintendo Switch portable console. It was later ported to iOS and Android mobile devices. Included the Troika, Vice City and San Andreas. All 3 games were redesigned for the Definitive Edition. In particular, the lighting system was improved, vehicle and character models were updated, new navigation and game interface design were added, and shadows, reflections and drawing distance were improved. The controls were also updated in accordance with TA V, and autosave system was added. On the Nintendo Switch, the game includes gyroscope aiming and touchscreen support. Some music tracks and cheats from the original versions of the games were removed. It remains to note parts of TA 4 and TA 5 with various additions, but these were released on the Rage engine and did not come out on mobile devices. By the way, there were some similar series of games on TA. For example, Gangstar from Gamaloft and Driver from Reflections Interactive. If we talk about which part of TA is my favorite, I will note the third, Vice City, Advance and Liberty City Stories. Well, now I say goodbye to you, enjoy watching and see you soon.